High Mysticism by Emma Curtis Hopkins. Chapter 11, Ministry, Part 2. The Ganja's mother loved her baby. She hugged it to her with passionate devotion, but she threw it to the crocodiles because her husband's judgment was the ruler's face that she was daily seeking. So her judgment, catching fire with her ruler's judgment, struck forth into action against her beloved baby. As bamboo stick striking bamboo stick sparks fire, so judgment sharpeneth judgment. Notice the difference between the prophet Elisha's judgment striking against the Shunammite's inner cords and the judgment of the Ganja's husband on the Ganja's mother's cords. Elisha was judging always the judgment of life, joy, victory. "It is well with thee?" he asked the Shunammite, whose heart was breaking. So strong was Elisha's living agreement with life and joy that she answered, "It is well." "It is well with thy husband?" asked Elisha. "It is well," she answered. "It is well with the child?" "It is well," was still her word. The smite of Elisha's judgment on the waiting chords of her being struck forth the spark speech that waked life in the dead child, joy in the husband, the day of judgment in the mother. Saul caught fire with the judgments of the prophet Samuel by constant association, till the men of Israel were astonished at Saul's prophecies. There is one with whom we can associate till our speech bewrayeth us. His vast, vast countenance, shining as the sun, now beams upon our heads divine wisdoms, and glows life-giving actions in our undertakings. He is the great ruler whose judgments strike fire with our waiting chords, till the lost word sparks on earth with its instantaneous miracle-working energy. The life coal lingering in the faint must fan to flaming fires of undying omnipotence at the smite of the lost word on the ethers. The joy chord mute in the breast of humanity must tremble with good news as from a far country at the lost word's sweet import. The judgment of the great ruler is on the finished estate that faces us from every infinitesimal point in the universe. All things and all people are adjustable at every instant to their own finished estate of flawless excellence, as judged by the great ruler's judgment. They all wait the promised new speech to show their own finished fact. "Give ye ear, my judgment is toward you, saith the great judge, and I will come near to you to judgment. Pray as if ye had already received," taught the Master. Of course we have already received, if it is already finished and near at hand. Is it not waiting the lighted eye to make the prayer of acknowledgement a simple truth? The angle of repose in physics is that angle at which one body may rest upon another without falling. The angle of repose between God and man is where man's judgment and the judgment of God agree. "I have put my judgment in thee for a light. Here is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, saith the judge of all the earth." "They neither marry nor are given in marriage," said Jesus. Of course not. They are already married from all eternity under the eye of Allah. What is all this marrying and giving in marriage but trying to adjust to the finished marriage? This great truth was visible enough to Baal Shem, so that he could sometimes see which people were married, and he led them across the breadth of the land to meet each other. He knew, like all advanced Muslims, that what ought to be is. If we ought to be there, then we are there. Let us sleep. And a week's journey was performed in one night, while they slept, because the great Muslim rested on the ought to be that is. Solomon was the forerunner of the resters in the ought to be that is. He knew that according to the judgment of Jehovah God, he already knew. Therefore he knew. And though he had not studied them, he told of the stars and the stones, and of the growing things, from the cedars of Lebanon to the hyssop that springeth on the wall. Jesus knew that according to God the Father he already knew all things. Therefore he needed not that any man should teach him. Is it not written in your law, ye are gods? He asked the people. As there is no respect of persons with the highest I am, he told his disciples to call no man upon the earth their father, regardless of appearances, that the straight line of healing energy from their Father might run through them, to the revealing of what verily is, everywhere they walked. Thus to them the apparently dead were as alive as the apparently living. To them the sick were only as straight sticks deflected in water. So they took the sick by the hand and pulled them standing. Rise and walk, they said. They were hard masters, reaping where they had not sown, for they had not to sow the seeds of good instruction, and see them spring up where the sick or dead were concerned. They saw what already is, was under everybody's feet, and all anybody had to do was stand on it. Right place, right people, right powers, right possessions. This is the high science of Jesus Christ. Go thy way, thy son liveth. Anthony of Padua suddenly saw in the kingdom. From his pulpit in Padua he heard them telling the woman that her son was dead. He is alive, shouted Anthony, and to the astonishment of all Padua, not one of whom had any knowledge of the unalterable, finished fact. The boy they had seen dead was found to be alive. The finished woman subconsciously knew that according to the judgment of the Lord, inexorable, she could not be in debt, for what was hers unalterably, and what was the other's was his from the beginning, and nothing could take from or add to the original endowment. With some awe, but not with any astonishment, she saw $60 multiplied to 160 on the table under her fingers. As she was only reputed to be in debt 150, she wondered for a moment what the extra 10 might be there for, when she suddenly remembered that she had always believed the till would never be empty. Her forgotten believing had come to open showing. The word, idle, even as the dead, had come to expression. Now is the time of the dead, when some heaven-born recognition of the eternal actual wakes in mankind. And the 11th was the jacinth. Pushing the red of the jacinth to its highest value, we have the ruby, symbol of beauty and symbol of judgment. Beauty and judgment present the same credentials for our favor. They represent the proper adjustment of part to part, man to man. A good judge is more sought after than a king. He puts man into right relation with his fellow man. Beauty is the proper adjustment of part to part. How beautiful, we exclaim, of the Taj Mahal of Agra, India, and of the Mosque of Omar at Jerusalem. Yet each part of each temple is no more beautiful by itself than the similar parts of millions of other buildings. It is the proportion, the balance, the inimitable adjustment of part to part of the Taj Mahal and the Mosque of Omar which satisfies our secret Zion standard. The Lord shall send down judgment with fire. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger. The greatest stranger to man is God the Lord. Some heard the sound of his voice and said, it thundered. Others said, an angel spake. But Jesus heard the voice of God in coherent speech. I have both glorified it, my name, and will glorify it again. The judgment of the stranger was perverted by the people, but Jesus received it as the mystery of that name, which, when called upon, saves from sword, famine, and defeat. He sealed to mankind the foretellings of the great prophets, that his ineffable name, key to the mysteries of the universe, should part of the ages' old silence, with the promised new language, hastening over the Tao or track of high recognition. And the 11th lot came forth to Elishib, whom God restores. I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, and the caterpillar. If any man sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. For what is the man suing? Surely he is violently striking out for adjustment to his own lot or portion in life. He strikes for judgment. He must not mistake his man. Meet him with the judgment, firing one who has companioned with the owner of the spheres. Give him the goods he strikes for, till by thee he also companions with the original giver and divine restorer to each man of all his inalienable rights. With what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. There are coats and cloaks of greater value, to take the places of the coats and cloaks wrested from man by the other man in his rough way to own his goods. Whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. He, as before, is on his violent, mistaken strife for his own good. Let him not mistake his man. Nothing shall by any means hurt thee, as the man strikes fire with thy right judgment. No man taketh my life from me. So, estimating the blows of human encounter, we cross the bar between earth and heaven, and the ruby blood in our veins is the morn glow of the new kingdom. I saw the city, said John, and boiling oil and slander felt the estimates of the John supernal. They had no power to hurt. Thou shalt not steal. Is this a commandment or a promise? This must be according to your ruler's face, lawmaker of the Ganges, or Lord Jehovah of the fixed estate. One veils the sight of the inalienable, undiminishable that faces us. One exposes the self-existent, rounded good, not be added to by action or non-action forever. One whose judgment has been the strike on our secret chords causes us to shut our neighbor away as a diminisher. One causes us to see him driving for our judgment's bamboo smite, passed on from the Lord of the inexorably undivided, who sees the everywhere fixed lot awaiting its owner's acknowledgment. Your speech bewrayeth your class. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Have we not discovered that the name of the High Redeemer is the lost word, the apocalyptic trumpet, which causes the shadows to flee away from the dead, the sick, the unhappy, the earth hindered, the instant it is spoken? It cannot be taken in vain. It is instantaneous in its rendering of the curtains of hiding. Has the name God this instantaneous sign of its executiveness? What name can we not take vainly? We have learned that as the language of our lips bewrays our associations, either with the learning of the schools or the knower to the schools unknown, so our answer to the Mosaic Decalogue bewrays our God. And our acquaintance with Jesus Christ, holder of the new name that cannot be taken in vain, tells whether we are nearing the speaking of the name that cannot be taken in vain, or driving round about to find it. For the Lord Christ only hath daringly declared, I will give a new name, which no man knoweth, save he that receiveth it. Those that thou gavest me, said Jesus, I have kept, and none of them is lost, save the son of perdition. Son is idea, and perdition is loss. I have lost only the idea of loss, he said. The idea of loss is Judas. He is lost. And in the place of Judas is Matthias, the gift of God. And Matthias is numbered with the 11. He is the value of all the 11 in one, as the gift of Elohim compasses all the good mankind could ask for, or even think, as good. Is there not one sense of loss that haunts the best of the sons of earth? The death of that one sense of loss is the death by which he must glorify the great restorer. In the river Euphrates, or the river of human life that flows through mankind, we dam the onflow of original goods as they drive from the banks of the land beautiful to the port supernal. We dam by hugging hard to goods that harbor the Judas miasma of loss. Approbativeness is hugged with its Judas miasma of loss. The dog whines under the table when its neighbor dog is praised. Yet no praises bestowed on the neighbor dog detract from the whining dog's standing. It is only the idea or sense of detraction that hurts. Could the unhappy beast know the truth, he would be free from his miserable Judas. This is the death by which many, even great people, might glorify their heavenly giver's impartial munificence, namely, by letting others be praised to high water mark for what they themselves, the great people, feel they deserve all recognition. They must stand to the truth which the dog cannot appreciate. They must know that the praises belonging to them are theirs, and are near at hand, nearer for the spaces made by the departing enconisms. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small, saith their judge, their great original. Affection is hugged with its Judas sting of the possibility of loss. What a log it is among the goods, driving down the human life river. Somebody wins away our beloved in whom we have delighted. No hope remains. Philosophy may declare that when half gods go, the gods arrive. But neither philosophy nor good will can help the heart to let go its one only among all others. But why should we not trust to the voice of the highest? We are not dogs that cannot listen to the voice of revelation. If the beloved is ours, none can remove the beloved. I will restore, saith the miracle-working restorer. Confidence in the miracle of Jehovah is the ruby stone among the gems of character. It colors the blood with living fire. Let go for the miracle of Jehovah. Make way for the miracle. Ambition is charged with the miasma of humiliating Judas. How many of mankind have dropped out of sight because their high seats have failed them, that others might succeed in their places? It is the agony of kings, emperors, presidents, officials, all along the lines of human emulation. Who has had voice to reach them with the divine verily, verily, that seats thrones, honors, let go when they let go, making way for the restorer's miracle of honors. Age nor sex nor handicap can hinder the coming of the miracle of the unseen giver. The high seat belonging to each of earth's millions on millions must see the old ambition log in the Euphrates life river give way before it can come into place. Sit thou in that seat, and none can make thee rise, declareth Allah, the inexorable. Acquisitiveness is another sign of Judas. The fear of loss of possessions goes ever with the acquisition of possessions. Nothing can neutralize the secret fear of loss in the breast of the owner of goods, save attention toward the mystic light of the inexorably determined that shines unnoticed over his head. What Allah has given cannot be diminished, and Allah has given more than man has amassed or shall ever amass. Man's face turning toward destruction, how can man help judging according to destruction? We judge according to our attentions. The watcher toward unlimited ownership in the upper realm so near has inward assurance of security. Why do men build battleships or lock their doors? Surely it is because of fear of loss of some sort. Nothing voids of the Judas fear of loss, till high watch teaches free letting go of fleeting goods for the coming of Matthias, the gift of the Father munificent. Letting go, how free may be the life river when we know the wherefores of our denudings. This he spake, signifying by what death he should glorify God. Wheresoever thou lookest, there is a law. From every point in the universe, the question faces us, is it well with thee? And to every point in the universe, the question-smitten chords of our being answer, according to thy judgment, it is well with me, therefore it is well. By so agreeing, man strikes beyond the pairs of opposites, success and ill success, honor and dishonor, and is he of whom the apocalyptic seer writes, to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne. The vision of the universal judge ever toward the sons of men, being met by the return gaze of the sons of men, drops into the beautiful speech of the new age just at our gates. The beatitudes of the great judge are all uttered as invigorating high science to the initiated. Notice how the non-initiate stumbles at the blessedness of being reviled and persecuted and spoken evil against falsely. But the initiate is no crying saint or rebellious Nietzsche. He knows that the persecutor by evil speakings and hateful revilings is knocking at the right gates. The initiate at his judgment seat stands to it that the reviler is only violently taking the kingdom of his own heaven. The evil speaker is striking for right judgment. He is the Shunammite over again, meeting his Elisha the Tishbite, who does not flinch from yielding the basic good that the reviler is earning by hard labor, though he knows that the reviler might have had his good by an easier and quicker method. Elisha did not quail at the signs of weeping. He held his own. Let us never flinch at what is happening around us. What is transpiring above us is our concern. And this wins all battles. For the kingdom across the bar is the ruling kingdom. It is the high watcher's business to get all the world to be interested in the ruling kingdom, for which its heart is truly yearning. The judge that standeth up in the universe facing us saith, as if testing us, is it well with thee? We answer, according to thy judgment, it is well with me. Therefore, it is well. We find that this bold communion accomplishes a strange victoriousness over all our undertakings. Being well with us according to high judgment, we see that it is well with all others. Over all habitations we see the other kingdom glowing. We hail complaining speech as divine challenge, our great opportunity. Under all feet we are aware a finished globe rolls with wonderful offerings. Let us salute the ever-waiting answers to our prayers. Is it not declared, believe that ye have, and ye shall have? Is it not declared, thy lot or portion in life is seeking after thee? I counsel you to heed no contrary clamorings. Who is deaf as the messenger I sent, saith Jehovah Nissi. Salute no man or opposition to the judge by the way. The long-looked-for judge day is within our gates. Let us joy in the fire of its purifying. Let us catch its brimstone truth, the mysterious, great, and mighty things not yet known to this world, which the prophets all heard announced as coming in with high watch and glad accord with high judgment. End of chapter 11. In synopsis of chapter 11, this is the chapter of judgment, and it's all about righteous judgment, divine judgment, again, is the concept of not judging according to appearances, as Jesus Christ taught in his ministry, but judge righteous judgment. That means that you judge according to divine principles. You don't judge according to appearance. To judge according to appearance is to be a downward gazer, and you're not using any of the power of your divine self if you're just going around and labeling things according to the appearance. It doesn't help the situation any. So, to judge righteous judgment is to hold true to your spiritual principles at all times. Spiritual principles including that there's only good with no mixture of evil. God never sends any form of hardship or evil or pain or suffering. None of that has any reality in God. God only sends good. God only sends us abundance and prosperity and love. Anything else is false and it has no reality in it. So we're not to give it any attention. And also, an underlying message of this whole chapter, Emma's talking about like our hidden beliefs and like our God putting intelligence into our inward parts. This is all about our subconscious beliefs, what we really truly believe at our core, even if we don't outwardly speak these things. Even those things will come to pass on the day of judgment. The day of judgment is when your inward beliefs manifest in the outside world. So it's very important to know what you believe at your core, even if it's a subconscious belief. A lot of times we have a lot of subconscious beliefs programmed that aren't in line with truth. Most of us were programmed to believe things that just are not true. So just like a gardener has to go in and uproot anything like weeds, things they don't want in their garden, same thing we have to do. We have to go into our mind and uproot any beliefs that don't serve our highest good, that aren't in line with truth, get rid of them and plant those divine truths in there instead. Because no matter what, our beliefs are going to show up in our world. So it's a more subtle message. Like Emma says in the beginning, chapters 11 and 12 are only like for the more advanced people who have gathered all their lessons from the first 10 chapters. The initiated, she calls them. So everything builds. If you got the first 10 chapters, then the 11th chapter will make sense. And we only have one chapter left, chapter 12, and that will be the conclusion of our journey in high mysticism. But the journey will continue with the companion book called Resume, which we will read next to take us deeper into our high mysticism journey.